shared amount of champions. You're worried about like the Elise, the Shen we discussed, the Galio. It's a little bit more mixed up here. And for DRX, they've been relying a lot on some of the more eclectic picks that you wouldn't expect from a team at this part of the standings, right? Like the Nidalee that Sponge likes to prioritize. So I think this draft is going to look very different than our last best of 3.
Yeah, I think these first 2 bans on red side, though, are going to look exactly the same.
That's true.
As it's taking a very long time for DRX to find Kalista, but they will be able to lock that one down. There it goes. And the final flex spot will now be available to DRX, as we've kind of seen formed as our meta is concerned.
Zyra is another one of those AP picks that Sponge has really enjoyed. That will be targeted towards him.
I wonder whether this means that Zeka is angling towards something like a Yone that he has been so good at.
Yeah, it does feel like that's an angle he's considering. The Cassante pick, the Aurora pick, these are other picks you could see going to that spot with the Varus band away. Rumble, another consideration for Zayas here.
And
with Cassante up. Mbessa. Van the Vi from Peanut, which is also a pretty smart choice. And the Nidalee will be denied.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wouldn't have thought that Nidalee is at the top of the priority list for a team with Peanut on it. Of course, Peanut has found a bunch of victories on this champion. Back in his Rocks days, he was an absolute menace on this champ, but more recently, he has been less about the hands champs, more about the macro decision-making and positioning champs, and this is not necessarily one of those.
When he was Rich's teammate, he played a lot of Nidalee Renekton on Nongshim back.
He definitely did.
Well, Cassante feels great into the Nidalee. They'll grab the Jace as well. So 2 high prio picks. Yukal's playing the Jace. And yeah, this is a fiery start for the draft here for DRX. And we won't be seeing Lilia in this position, that's for sure.
Unless we pick 5 junglers. But they probably will not do that. As Nara is being a consideration here. Zayas, a phenomenal Nara player, can play it into Cassante very comfortably.
Not known to be a great synergizing champion with the Nidalee in terms of top 2v2. Victor to come through is also similarly not the greatest option.
Yeah, I don't think that fills us with very much excitement. Neither does the Corki, but it never has.
Corki into Jace can be a very volatile matchup as well. I'd almost rather see Zeka's Aurelia here, but it will be the Corki to be locked in. And
still a flex, theoretically.
That's true, that is true. You're very right about that, and the Kai'Sa kind of leans towards potentially being in the bottom lane. They want to lock that one up right away. Really strong draft here for DRX so far. They've got a lot of poke. They have strong front line. I think it'll probably not be tank Jace because of the Cassante here, but they have those options. And, you know, on the other side here for Hanwha Life, they have some poke to trade back, but their composition is so conditional around that 2-item spike for the Corki, around Nidalee poke landing, around the Narbar. DRX is just a lot more simple.
I would agree. And there's also a lot of mastery here, right? Like, this is the Cassante for Rich. He is very comfortable on that champion. Yukal, the weirder the pick is in the mid lane, and I guess mid lane Jace isn't necessarily all that weird, but he's certainly been comfortable on a lot of these AD mids. And Teddy's Kai'Sa is his best champion by like a country mile these days. He is so, so good. So definitely a great look for DRX here coming out of the red side. Is Leona going to be banned away from Andil, trying to stop some of that setup as the Caitlyn going to be removed from Viper. Of course, throwing bans at Viper feels bad because the guy plays a million things and then every other role's things as well.
And also could potentially be playing Corki here. It would be tough matchup, but it's definitely a possibility. So those bans still feel strong and solid for eliminating some possibilities here for Hanwha Life, but not the robust bans that we end up here with the Lilia, specifically being so strong with double AD.
We saw it. I don't know how Poppy slipped all this way through.
Yeah, I would have much rather seen the Poppy banned instead of Leona in this draft here by Hanwha Life, but Andil's going to get his hands on it.
Yeah, it might be that Viper was thinking about a Misfortune pickup just to add to a lot of that power. As never mind, it's going to be Elise. Hard to pick the Poppy into the Elise as well, of course, with Repel being available. Don't need to worry about doing any dashes or any silly stuff like that. But instead, Viper is considering the Freljordian Archer.
I think this kind of saves the draft for Hanwha Life, though, in a lot of ways, because sure, you've got the Corki mid, and that doesn't always feel amazing, but you can really do a lot in a lane swap into Cassante.
Whoa.
Oh, and the Pantheon to come through, too. There's a lot of power in this draft now here for Hanwha Life Esports in that bottom lane. You are not necessarily just going to get bullied by the Elise, and you can swap away from it and try to put the pressure onto Rich's Cassante. And Sponge is going to get his tried and true Sejuani out for that final pick here. with a lot of synergy in this draft. You can cocoon into a Sejuani ult or vice versa, and then follow up on that target with the Kai'Sa. You've got Poke to kind of lean into that. And there's kind of a timer on Hanwha Life's composition if it falls behind on objective fights, because I would argue the Poke will eventually be better for DRX, especially when Nidalee can't see and doesn't have vision around those objectives. And then you have to deal with the cocoon, so somebody has to face check. And Pantheon can face check and then, you know, absorb a lot of that pressure for a second, but will ultimately still be blown up in a lot of these situations. Yeah. I think Hanwha are the better team, and I think they can pilot this draft. And Peanut's a fantastic Nidalee player on his best days. Put that asterisk there always. And I do like what they put together here. But if I took the nameplates off, I'd kind of be leaning DRX, to be honest with you, Atlas.
Yeah, I kind of like it. And I also like the fact that I can go back to another Mario Kart reference, because it feels to me, if we were to go back to talk about, this time I'm going to go with bikes going into the Wii era when it comes
the best
to Mario Kart. That was my favorite, personally. And it's a comparison between the Dolphin bike and the Mark bike. You know, one of them has that acceleration. That's this comp on your screen right now. It just starts off strong and then falls off a little bit. Doesn't have the top speed that a composition like this does have. And if you're Funky Kong with that Bowser bike, man, you can get some top times. Let's jump into the Rift for game number 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1. And Wolf, did you like that? Because
I loved every part of it.
Because we played a lot of Mario Kart in the retro game bar that we will have to say goodbye to because it no longer exists. But it was very, very fun. We would often do that after work, even before you joined the LCK.
Yeah, no, it was great. My favorite memories of the Mario Kart we were referencing, we might have to wait on because we see Andal's a little cut off here, potentially, from joining his 80 carry, but looks like it might be fine. We'll see him, though, with that ward if he steps forward, so he has to be patient. And, yeah, Funky Kong was always my nemesis, because I didn't want to play the top tier. I wanted to play my character, which was just play Bowser, and win without using the Funky Kong abuse. And all the 999s in the lobby, you know, 9999.
Yeah.
They were all Funky Kong, so I wanted to get there without it. I ended up stopping at like 7,000, but it was a fun time playing Wii Mario Kart.
Yeah, I was different because I played Daisy, who was the other one.
Couldn't stand the voice lines.
The midweight. You just turn it off.
Daisy, yeah.
That's easy.
Hi, I'm Daisy. No. Sponge may hear the hi on Peanut in a moment as his jungle is getting taken away here.
Yeah, he's certainly learning that this is not the time to be on the top side of his
This is
jungle.
what happens when you do pick Sejuani, when Nidalee is already on the other team and they have a lot of prio set up and you can't really farm. You're going to get out-farmed anyways, but now you're quite a bit behind where you would even like to normally be, and we'll see if you can recover.
The thing that's really hard is that DRX had to accept a lane swap, in my opinion. I know that, you know, Kai'Sa and Elise is a little bit stronger than Kai'Sa and anything else.
Sure.
But I do feel like the all-in potential of an Ashe Pantheon is so scary. The problem is they also have a lot of dive setup. So level 1 for Rich, and there are 4 people in this top lane. Azeus is going to hop taxi his way over. That is going to be first blood. Over to Peanut as easy as you like, and it's even Delight that tanks up the turret, and therefore he can happily go back. The flash forward is Zeka, unable to get the solo kill onto Yukal. I don't know what happened there, but that does not look good as, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh Rich, oh
He's
no.
1 minion away from level 2.
Oh dear, the Turtle Port brings him in, but he had to sit and wait while it was coming through for so long. As okay, Andal's going to come on over as somehow Peanut survives for an extra shot. Still, Rich has survived the initial onslaught as they wait for this tower to reset once more. The boulder comes down.
Oh, it's a disaster.
There goes Delight. Viper not quite dead, but close. And I said, oh no. What I meant was, oh, Rich, nicely done.
I mean, I was watching that first dive, and I was like, damn, he's 1 minion away from level 2. Viper in trouble.
Yeah, he's dead. And that's Rich getting another one as well. Never mind, that's kill going over to Andal. Never lucky, Rich.
3 kills on an Elise actually is value. I was talking about this in the previous series. She actually uses gold pretty well. But at this moment, you know, we don't have the XP bar up, but he's so close to hitting level 2. He's like, I want that minion. Meanwhile, Zeus is in trouble.
Oh, God. Okay, so, And now also here in the mid lane, UCal, he is dead. So there we go. HLE getting one on the board, baby.
Okay, so it's not all terrible, but it's mostly terrible.
Yeah.
Zeus has 1 minion. He is level 2. He is like about exactly 2 levels behind. It's not like he's level 2 levels behind, where he's like 1 minion away from level 3, where the UI makes it look a little bit funny because we have that now. We can see the purple. He's very far behind. Is a mini-Gnar, very abusable champion, and they're about to get a plate, but they might get even more.
And, oh god, okay, so Zeus is level 2, like you were talking about before. They are just going to look to try and cocoon him. They get the flash out. Andal's going to tank up the turret a couple of times, but dodges the last one with a repel. They can repeat. They can do that again if they would like to.
Yeah, I mean, Sponge is on the bottom side of the map, too. Zeus is in a pretty scary spot. Now, Rich is laning into an Ashe, so it's not like he's going to be able to do anything fun anytime soon, but I don't think he's going to die to a Peanut gank either. So he's feeling pretty good about the cross-map situation, as Delight does make his way over here to try to stem the bleeding. That means no follow-up dive will come through, but man, this was a very, very rough start to this game here for Hanwha Life. At least they were able to punish UCal's flash.
Yep.
But that is about it.
Oh god, I think Delight might be dead. The cocoon is going to connect, and Andal is just having the greatest time. Look at that, he's got Sork shoes already. And they have a feat of strength. Oh my goodness. That is so
insane.
much power for an Elise this early on. And you're exactly right when you said him getting the kills is a good thing, because in the early game, that's when he can leverage it the most.
Exactly. That's when that goal is going to matter the most. And he's at a 1.1k lead over his opposition, but when a Pantheon has to come bail a lane out like that, you know he's going to have to try to path back up, right? He's going to have to try to make an impact elsewhere, so you can catch him in the jungle like that if you play it well. And they catch him, and that's another kill going over. And this Kaisa is also significantly accelerated.
Yeah, Rich also looking for a bit of an angle onto Viper here, whose frost shot will be able to keep him at bay momentarily. You can see Rich just playing up in the lane, knows that Andal's coming. There's the repel to close the gap, gets the flash out. Cocoon has to be cleansed. No more summoner spells left for Viper here as Delight moves in, but I don't think they're going to be too scared of a level 3 Pantheon.
Yeah, I think Delight needs to be careful.
Yeah.
Peanut is, you know, you're with that extra pressure from Delight trying to rush these grubs down, and he's got just a tiny window to do it. They have mid-prio here. Looks like he's going to get 2, as he does have that smite.
Yeah, should be able to take this one down. There we go, turns, but the cocoon is going to connect. Delight is going to die for it as the permafrost comes in, and down he goes, 4-0-1! My God, this Elise is so scary. As an Australian, we understand about very dangerous spiders, and I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is certainly one of them.
Yeah. You know our colleague Kitty. She posted a video recently of her catching the spider.
No, I saw that was a healthy.
That is. I would never be able to handle that. I could never live in Australia apparently.
Oh no. They're not poisonous or anything. You'd be fine.
Oh, okay, but they're very scary. Oh, this is even like we didn't really see the beginning of this.
Oh, great interruption from Sponge actually.
Yeah, but he just used his TP there to pass away.
Yeah.
All right, now this is like, okay, maybe we can steal this away. Oh wait, no, we can get more than that, and then end up getting a kill here on the Delight. Zeus is once again in trouble. He has Mega though.
Yep, and the Wallop is going to go wide, but Teddy just convinces him to leave. He will do that. And the thing that's I find very amusing about this is that I imagine there's a lot of people saying HLE's draft is just terrible. Because with a start like this, absolutely, this draft does absolutely nothing. We mentioned it already. Yeah. This required HLE to be the ones doing this to DRX.
Yeah, it's a bit problematic as...
That's an anger arrow is what it feels like to me. But Peanut's coming down. Not going to be able to connect that though because Andal able to go up into the sky. Still, that is shutdown goal going over to Peanut. Flash out from Teddy to avoid the spear as Rich comes in. 1v3, but Delight is extraordinarily close to dead. Does get the stun. Rich looking to be able to flash away, and he will be able to do so.
UCal also going to get some plate gold out of this play as well, so this ends up being a little bit better for DRX than it otherwise looked to be. So a lot of farm denied because they ended up getting that teleport there from Zeka, so it's not all bad here for DRX on that one. Zeus, on the other hand, will get some alone time up here, but with the roaming Elise, isn't going to stick around to try to force down the plate, which I think is a wise choice.
One thing that HLE have been able to do is sort of stabilize, right?
Oh,
this
absolutely.
Is not as bad as it could have otherwise been. It looked like they were kind of just chain dying, and then it was just going to be that for the rest of the game. Not really the case. 1,000 gold, not too much in it. And with Viper being able to start off that play, puts them back into a relatively decent standing. And as this mid-game sort of rolls around, you imagine that the Gnar is going to be feeling fine in this matchup as he gets a couple of items together. Mid-game, certainly the power will be there. And if Peanut can continue to actually affect this map on this Nidalee, especially now at 2-1 and 0, that is putting them back to where they kind of wanted to be with this composition. And in fact, Peanut getting that gold is really important because as a Nidalee falls further and further behind, you feel so useless.
You start to get really choked out, and then you're not going to be as a, not really an engaged jungler at any. Okay, Zeka?
Yep, Zeka is just going to get pushed into Andil. Does do a lot of damage with the Valkyrie, actually, as the Cocoon goes wide.
Well played.
Yeah, nicely done.
Gets half of UCal's health bar on his way out. Doesn't have to flash. Nice dodge.
You can feel it, though, from Andil. He is really trying to make this money work for him. Knows that he's on a little bit of a timer with this Elise pick.
Exactly, especially.
Same can be said for Delight. Like, the Pantheon's also not going to be the most late-game powerful champion.
But I think when you look at the 6-3 kill score, that makes you feel like DRX are really crushing it. And they do have 1,000 gold to lead here at 10 minutes, which is significant, but it's not game-ending. And a lot of that money is on the Elise. I mean, it's squarely on the Elise. And so when you think about that, it means that, the Kai'Sa isn't out of control, right? The Jace isn't out of control. And as a result, this is still very playable, especially if you're this far up in the lane and get punished. We'll see teleports traded here, as mentioned. UCal gets plates out of this, but it's still a kill onto the Elise. It's still money to Peanut, as you mentioned. They get Teddy's flash as well, and it's a pretty significant win here for Hanwha Life. Also getting Rich's flash, which I did forget about because he has to go over the fat wall here, but over on the other
teleport,
side,
actually, as Viper is dead, guys. Doesn't have his flash. Does manage to cleanse, but he's still dead. That is UCal picking up some much-needed money in that mid lane. You can see really tying up the gold between those two. As DRX surge forward again.
That's a very back-and-forth game here, but DRX trading up in a lot of ways. Now, finally, Zeus gets the matchup he was hoping for here.
Yeah, doesn't quite get that wall up in place, but still going to be able to do a fair bit of work here. As you can see, some grub's going to be taken here by DRX. They nail down the first one. Should be able to grab two. Let's see whether HLE can even the score as far as that is concerned. But instead, they're going for a fight. Sponge down incredibly low, but UCal diving in. And he's super tanky, to be perfectly honest. The Shock Blast, the tiny one, is able to wipe out this Pantheon as now Viper free hitting. To the skies goes UCal. Let's see whether Viper can actually land this. Oh man, that volley was so high value as Andil is able to get the kill back, but not without sacrificing himself. And now Peanut will be able to even out these grubs, as we mentioned before. This game is chaos.
Kind of a banger to start things off here. So close to turning that one around, but UCal does go down. Viper will go down with him, though. Flash was expended as well. He just got it back up, so that feels huge as he doesn't have it for this play here. And you can see just how powerful this duo can be. I mean, Jace Sejuani has a lot of synergy, cleanses there at the final moment, but still just gets smashed by UCal there, and Sponge committing the ultimate just to be safe. Going back into this replay here, it's a little bit broken up, it's a little bit messy. Engaging on the Pantheon, not the biggest fan of here. He was positioned really well to try to prevent that Arctic Assault from hitting Peanut. So Delight actually putting in a lot of heavy lifting at the beginning of this, but still gets hit by the Shock Blast, and that really hurts because if he lives there and they trade this, you feel a lot better about it. As Viper is kiting incredibly well, but Andil is just so fed at this point. I think actually gets a proc of his Hextech Alternator in that final moment as well. Zeus!
Oh god, okay, that is going to be some Plasma proc, but Teddy's able to cleanse out from Delight, but the arrow's still going to connect onto Andil here. Peanut dashing forward, but Teddy, Killer Instinct into the backline, executes the Pantheon, but sacrifices himself for it, and I feel like killing a cannon's probably more valuable than killing Delight at this point, so probably still a trade-up for HLE as DRX. If they can get this Drake, certainly good for them.
Teddy didn't have flash and didn't have any really defensive ult opportunities there, so perhaps thought he was going to die either way, so decided to go in, which I think, if that's true, if we look at the replay, maybe we'll think differently, but at that moment, probably thought that was the best opportunity for him since he didn't have that critical summoner. He does have it now, but didn't at the moment. As wow, we're just really trading blows in this game. And when you look at where the gold is, again, it's fairly even between the 80 carries, but a slight advantage to Teddy. The Elise advantage is getting bigger and bigger, and she scales better than Pantheon because she can still blow people up later on, and she can at range and with map control just isolate anybody. Exactly. Yeah. So like you catch basically anybody that isn't Pantheon, and then also Pantheon, frankly.
Especially this Pantheon. Thankfully, Delight's going to be way more healthy now. He's got his serrated Dirk for all that defense.
Yeah. He went for the Rocket Belt as well, Andil, in this game.
Yeah, a little bit of added utility. I'm kind of into it. Normally we do see Storm Surge picked up first just to fully commit into a lot of damage. But this time, just adding to that mobility, and I'm kind of into it. Still, Zeka looking for a couple of plates, but ooh, I believe he managed to get the last one right before they fell down, so that's certainly good.
This is how you play around Vision, though, with this composition. Siege up turrets, let the Cassante absorb the pressure elsewhere, especially because it's a Nidalee composition. If Rich dodges even a few of these...
Oh, the arrow going to connect. That's after the dash. That is bad news, Bears. He's going to get taken down, quite literally, because that's what the ability's called there from Peanut. And they will lose this turret. That should be a feat of strength going on over to HLE, and there it is.
That's a huge play from Viper, because I think without the arrow, he can buy so much time, and they have so much control over that top side. They don't get the turret, actually.
Oh, God. Okay, Glacial Prison goes down, and so will Delight, because he doesn't have a health bar still. Sponge tanking up that turret. Winter's Wrath avoided beautifully there by Viper, but now Andil and Yukal looking to try and take him down. That Rocket Belt doing some work there, but Andil not able to close the gap. That's an inner turret. Okay.
Yeah, for an outer topside, Teddy did finally take that one out, but...
And an outer mid. So having a look at the gold, though, it is even.
I think it's a pretty big win for Hanwha Life, to be honest. And this Gnar needed the money so badly. And, you know, now he's going to start to be a really big threat. I think he hasn't backed for a while, sitting on a ton of money. Finishes his boots, grabs that Triforce as well. And DRX, we talked about how their comp has some longevity to it, but it, again, depends more about vision, I feel like, than just the scaling elements of this, especially with the tank Jace it looks like we are seeing built here by Yukal. Oh, man, if Rich doesn't die here, the setup is so good for the side of Hanwha Life, because maybe they kill him or zone him off the turret anyways with Zeus TPing, but he buys so much time while they're getting that top turret, but because he's hit by the arrow, it's so much easier. And then over here, I mean, this is a really scary play from DRX because they almost give Viper a kill off of this. And they were going to lose the turret, or they were going to get the turret anyways, but it was a really high-risk play to give a kill to a utility champ rather than onto your AD carry, for example. So that, I didn't love that one from DRX, to be honest. It also allowed then that inner turret to go down as Zeus picked it up.
I want to say as well that Peanut's having a pretty good game on this Nidalee so far as the arrow once again. Oh, it sails by the spider and hits the boar. Andil's still going to die, though, as Zeka locks that one down with a Frost Bomb. And Sponge unable to avenge his fallen support. And this is one of the problems with the Elise.
Zeus is just chilling up here, too.
Oh, God.
He's going to start putting pressure on this inhibitor turret. Yukal does have teleport and can actually just back, but it was a scary moment if they were going to further commit there. They do not, and they end up giving over the Herald. So DRX trying to do a little bit too much here on the map, I feel.
And this is the opposite of what DRX have kind of done throughout the remainder of the tournament, which has been fall behind and then find a way back in. This is get ahead and then not find a way to do anything in the mid-game that's really working out. As now Teddy and Viper are fighting. Teddy's going to win this one. He's able to take down his opposite number. And as I say it, DRX look to right the ship. They claim the gold lead once again, even though it is basically pennies.
Holy bizarre.
This is nuts.
It was really bizarre, too, that Viper just opted into staying in mid there against a Kai'Sa rather than helping his teammates out. Maybe they thought it was just a foregone conclusion that DRX were going to back off of the Grubs, but he just dies.
Might have been an opportunistic Void Seek or something like that. Hopefully we see a replay of how that one actually started. As here we start with Andil getting tagged almost by the arrow.
Still, of course, he's just going to get focused down, but gets a flash for his trouble, forcing the Pantheon to flash there. And they buy a bunch of time here, zone out. Rich comes over, right? Yukal's in position.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is just a Void Seeker here. Okay, so this, if Viper is completely adjudicated, this is just a good play from Teddy, expecting him to rotate over as we expected, because he was, and then he got caught.
Yep. Very nicely done. With the arrow off on cooldown, there's no way to defend yourself when the dive bomber comes in. So nicely done there by Teddy. And him being fed in this game is such a huge deal for DRX because we know what he can do with this Kai'Sa. He has single-handedly turned games on this champion.
Absolutely. It's been one of his best. When you think back to the Mad Movie stuff we saw last year, one of the most impressive ones of the year. I think he actually won Play of the Year at the LCK Awards for that.
He won so many LCK Awards. I'm not going to lie. It was, and he had the most, like, the best celebrations and things like that. Teddy was really cleaning up.
He's just an iconic player. By the way, that is feats of strength for DRX with that objective being taken here.
Yeah.
HLE not able to answer back, and that's also going to be soul point for Infernal Soul. Oh, no, sorry, I thought it, didn't it say Infernal? I swear it did, but no, I guess it was, no, that was the Infernal Drake taken for the Chemtech Soul.
Yeah.
My bad. There's a lot of objectives in the game. I'm just going to mess it up sometimes.
I think Orcs is busy doing something else because we've had so many Chemtech Souls so far throughout the play-ins, and it's quite disappointing. So he's going to have to pay attention. Hopefully, Dan Harrison, if you are watching, please just pay some more attention for the next game.
Man, we're going to have to pull up the damage to structure stat or something at some point. He's just...
He has, like, close to the highest gold lead in the game.
Get this man a hull breaker.
Surely he'll build it next.
I mean, he could. I mean, UCal is going to get a turret down here on the bottom side in exchange with the Herald, but they had to use Herald for that. It's going to really be with the objectives mattering less with the Chemtech Soul on lock here. A lot about who gets control over the big ones, like the Otacon that's spawning in 40. I don't think we're going to see anyone trying to take that 40. It is the Muramana being put together here for UCal as well. Kind of figured that would be the case, but it's always a mystery with Cleaver Tier.
Yeah, true.
And so he's going to be doing a lot of damage. Hold up, Viper.
Yeah, going to immediately cleanse, but still gets hit by the Cocoon. A little bit of return damage, and yeah, avoiding those Void Seekers, good idea. Not going to be dying this time.
What's really impactful about the Chemtech Soul, though, Atlas, is the Scryer's Blooms that are empowered, because with Vision and Elise being able to hide around and play around that Vision so incredible and set traps, it becomes so incredibly oppressive against Hanwha Life Esports if DRX can get that map control. We've been talking about if they get it for this whole game. It's been so back and forth, but they haven't had really a ton of control, and I feel like have been run around the map by this Gnar quite significantly. Gold, though, still an advantage for them. Very slight, but this game I feel like is anyone's to take. It's such a good game.
Somehow it's also Voracious Otacon, so I think you're right. So we're just never going to get Ruinous.
Never,
it's just not a thing. Didn't they say that it was going to be like more likely in Pro? Because like if this game doesn't have it, it's never happening.
They say a lot of things, you know. And it doesn't always happen in our region, to be fair. It happens sometimes in other regions.
Yeah, I'm going to send an email to Matthew. We need to, I just want some variety in my Otacon, or I just want Otacon to be just the one. That's fine too. All right, Zeus, 50% health, getting sieged on here by the Boar and the guy with a hammer/gun.
Cocoon on cooldown, but Viper is still not going to mess around with that. And no arrow, so we'll have to just leave the location. Almost caught Zeus there, though.
Ooh, okay, Peanut gets the trap down, but we'll take a Winter's Wrath for it. Finds that beefed up Scryer's Bloom.
Somebody who has to take my cat to the vet occasionally, chasing a cat down can be quite tricky.
It can certainly be tricky. As Teddy walks over a trap, not too psyched about that one, as now Spears not quite connecting. But it looks like DRX on the run from this one. Rich is making his way down. Zeka is towards the top side of the map, but does have his teleport.
I mean, this is more members of DRX here than there are of Hanwha, and they're getting nothing. So the trade-up is Zeka having some alone time here. There's no outer to take or anything like that, so this does end up just being a full reset. But I feel like from a macro perspective, probably DRX coach is like kind of, you know, shaking his head a little bit at that one. They weren't able to fish for anything. They were close to maybe setting something up on Viper, close to grabbing that mini Gnar on Zeus. Sponge was very aggressively positioned, and this comp has so much pick potential that I respect it, but maybe back away when you miss the chance.
Yeah, this game is so close, though. It is kind of nutty.
So close. I mean, compared to the last series where it could not have been more one-sided, I'm like, I'm here for this.
Yeah. As that spear does so much damage. Horizon Focus is done here for Peanut as well as his Leandries. So, yeah, these are very threatening as they dive onto Sponge. Great Arctic Assault, but Viper is going to tag Andal. A few arrows do come in, but UCal has found the Ash, and he's in the blender and will be just decimated. Zeka teleported in, but I don't know whether he really wanted to, as these health bars are going lower, but I don't think that they can actually re-engage. As Delight, yeah, he's going to try and protect himself, but he gets stunned, and oh god, the damage from Teddy.
This is starting to be the Teddy show again on this Kaisa, and Hanwha Life not in really a position to try to fish for anything else here. I think they should definitely be willing to vacate. It looked like at the beginning of that play it was going to be Nidalee trapped for Luz Sejuani, but then they turned it around.
And this is what happens, right? With HLE having 0 frontline, DRX can take the initial salvo and then continue to fight.
Yes.
That is what we're seeing.
And now they're looking for Chemtech Soul Point on spawn. Not the most impactful threatening soul, but still value. in this composition. We'll see if Hanwha have anything to say about it. They're rotating over as quickly as they can.
Yeah, Void Seeker not going to be able to find too much there as Peanut can pounce over that wall if he would like to. Does so right there, but
Andil on a late join here. It could be cut off.
Yeah, Sponge is also pretty low. Andil now just trying to protect this outer turret. HLE decide that they want to stop that from happening and should be able to get this outer. The rest of DRX not committing to anything.
I'm not sure why Andil was that far away, maybe just clearing some vision on the top side of the jungle, but the rest of his team was clearly focused on the Dragon. He wasn't there and almost got caught, lost the turret over it. See if he can turn it around here. Zeus has Mega.
Yeah, Zeus not going to be too worried about what DRX are going to be able to do here as Sponge moves in and wants to immediately move out. Oh, the Arctic Assault missed synergy there alongside the Cocoon, forcing that one to miss. The Dragon is going to go to Peanut, and Zeus wanting to kill Rich slows him down with a big old rock. And that is going to cause his demise. HLE now moving up towards Otacon as well.
This is a huge turning point in this game. I think DRX are really going to be kicking themselves for this one. Andil's late rotation, losing the turret, being completely split there on the focus. And Hanwha, they were not. Laser focused there on those isolated targets, catching Sponge, and now trying to stop this Otacon as a pipe dream.
Oh,
see if DRX can make it happen. UCal coming in.
It's a pipe dream, but they're still going to try and go to Sleep Wolf. Viper going to get tagged, yep. Health bar completely invisible here as they're looking to rotate over. Yeah, Otacon's going to be taken, and then you're going to be here. You do not want to be here, DRX. As what goes up must come down, and then goes even further down. That is the 4th death, catching up with the deaths comparison to all of these kills that Andil picked up.
I mean, we have, you know, I would call at this point Rich a veteran, and he's a MOBA veteran, obviously, right? And you have Teddy on your team, you have UCal, but it just feels like Hanwha Life are the better team at setting up on objectives. The coordination is way better. It just looks like 5 veterans versus some lost sheep. Frankly, with how DRX is setting up these objectives, it's just very poor coordination after a huge lead. It's completely split here. The front line is cut off. Otacon, you have to give it at this moment in time, but they commit anyways for the contest here, and it's a disaster. Luckily for them, only Andil will get picked, but it's just further map control to Hanwha Life Esports. Map control you so sorely need. If your opponent gets Otacon, you could still set a trap. You could still maybe set up a pick and look to stop some of that pushing. But if you're losing this much map control, you can't even set up for that anymore. It's so difficult.
Yeah, this is that sequence of play was just the main thing that was awful, because DRX, everything else was going great. I actually was quite impressed with how they played out every other part of this game until that sort of cavalcade of misery came on through.
I mean, we've seen some weird stuff in this game for sure, like Zeus' teleport, the teleport from Zeka, where I'm like, you know that package, man, you're lucky they didn't kill you, stuff like that. But
yeah.
Hanwha Life making really good decisions and making snap decisions in these chaotic moments that DRX are just not able to match the speed of is really problematic for them. I mean, Zeus, 5-0-2, 3 items.
Oh, easy on the trigger finger there, but unfortunately, Andil is still going to pop like a balloon. Zeus just hops on top of him, and that is a dead Elise. And in other games, we'd be saying, oh, now it's time to take Baron, because the Smite's dead. But Elise isn't a jungler anymore, so Sponge could theoretically go for some sort of steal.
There's a bit of a Gnar on a flank situation, but he does have his withdrawal, so I don't think he cares.
Yeah, this is the thing. So DRX are going to move over. Delight gets healed up, actually, from Peanut for most of his health bar, and Sponge, he doesn't have that option. He just dies. Baron is going to go over to HLE as well. And it's like HLE just decided they wanted to win in the last few minutes. Rich going to get thrown back into the wall. He'd almost escaped, and Zeus said, nah.
I mean, they got through the toughest part of this game relatively scathed, but like Zeus really kept them in it with really good side laning. Zeka, despite being in danger a few times, never died, right? He hit his 2-item spike. Now he's got 3 on this Corki straight to the LDR. He's massive now. Wasn't as clean as Corki game, but it's clean enough. That hurts a lot. And, you know, when you get through so smoothly, some of the toughest parts, and you have that big game-deciding team fight where Andil's cut off, you lose turret, you lose a member, then you lose Andil, then you lose Andil before Baron. It's like Summoner's Rift's got a post 20-minute get an objective, you get one Andil free. You know, Hanwha Life just ruling the game now. Suddenly a 7,000 gold lead, and we see, if you see the gold graph come up, you're going to see a huge spike around that moment on Dragon.
And it's nutty to me, because it feels like HLE are making Pantheon Nidalee look like a late-game viable, like, compositional choice.
Well, I was going to say, the cool thing about the Pantheon, too, when we were talking about the early game, you know, yeah, the Nidalee doesn't have great synergy with the solo laners here, Gnar and Corki, but if Pantheon shows up, makes the spear hit. That's just
and
how
also,
it works.
yeah, makes someone not move.
Yes.
That is very valuable.
It's pretty significant. And I do like what they teched in here. And the glaive is so useful against Elise, so he went for that, and now he's got so much vision control. They have Chemtech Soul as well to play around, like I was talking about.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
That time the rappel didn't land. Oh god. Okay.
Like I said, it's a post 20-minute objective. You get one on-deal free.
Yeah, well, they are really making the most use of that coupon. I think perhaps the store should look into making the limit be only 1 coupon per day.
Yeah, limit like 2 per customer.
Yeah. I think the shareholders will have something to say about that because they may have lost some revenue. Still.
I think this game may just be cooked now, Atlas. I mean, there's just no way back in.
Yeah,
it's so oppressive.
It's feeling to me like perhaps HLE have switched on enough in order to make this one work. As Teddy, oh god, tagged by another spear. And Viper just avoiding these Void Seekers. Sponge and UCal just wondering which fire they need to put out first, and unfortunately, that results in none of them really going out. Cocoon going to connect here as the Mega Nart should actually come through. It's just whether or not that does anything. He hops into the enemy base. And Teddy, I don't know whether you needed to ult, but you did, and he died. So,
got him.
Yeah, results-based analysis says you nailed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to be in trade for this dragon. It's only a second Chemtech dragon. They got the Ondo preemptively this time, so won't be coming with it, but...
Yeah, I think they took the coupon off. It was a bit of an emergency situation.
I think when you look at the dead inhibitor, the top side being a little bit more valuable now in this game, it's really not feeling like this one catch on the Zeus is really even a one step forward here. Like it doesn't even feel like a win. If Zeus gets out there, you feel like even worse, but killing him doesn't really feel like a major victory in any way. And Hanwha Life got a lot out of that Baron. That inhibitor is going to be down still when the Baron spawns in 2:30. That's what I was talking about, the top side being more important here now, especially because the Dragons, even though they wouldn't be spawning at that time, are kind of irrelevant in this one.
And you can see Zeka building towards item number 4. You've got the same being said here for Zeus, as an arrow will not be able to steal the crab. Sponge immediately bails out towards the northern end of the pit.
That was scary.
It certainly was. And Zeka level 17, 8-0-3 on this Corki right now. And Corki, the Renaissance man, he's really made his way back into the forefront of not being bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I think very well set up for success in this game.
Now has an Infinity Edge.
Yeah, he suddenly, he had the 2-ion spike, we're like, all right, cool. And then I was like, wow, he has LDR already. And then next thing I know, like you said, he's got IE. IE, this game is over. I'm really looking at it and I'm like, man, DRX, you had such a great start. And, you and I were kind of pitching this composition for DRX as having the more late game top speed. I think that is premedicated on maintaining control, which they lost significantly. Is Zeus?
Well, Teddy, he looks good gold. That is true, as he flashes and kills him. So that's a lot of cooldowns. However, the results once again say that things are good. Rich is also dead, and so it's a 1-for-1 as both top laners just having a bit of a nap.
Yeah. I mean, that's your Zhonya's on cooldown for a little bit. Zhonya's a good buy for Kaisa, who gets value out of the AP as well for her poke. And I think the game plan here for DRX is try to survive for 2.5 more minutes for the inhibitor to spawn and try to keep Baron from happening at that point. Maybe then you can win a miracle team fight. Maybe. That's your only hope at this point. Looking for a second inhibitor, though, is HLE.
Yeah,
I think they're going to get it.
Going to tag Sponge, but he was able to buffer the Arctic Assault, and the inhibitor will go down. So that is 2. Next one could be taken here, unless they move over to the Baron in 30 seconds' time to take that one down instead. UCal possibly overextended, and by possibly, I mean very overextended. The flash forward from Delight. UCal's relatively tanky, and Zeka may go down as well, but not before killing him. As, oh god, the spear just one-shots onto Andil, and now Peanut is just dancing around the fight, able to take them all down. Rich still going all out, though, and is able to execute both of the damage dealers. Zeus just wasn't there, and also probably wasn't needed. Delight likely to die, but instead he gets healed up by Peanut and manages to help take down the Cassante. Peanut's Nidalee, man, really having a day out on this champion. The Nexus will now go down. This was a weird, wonderful, wacky game, but in the end, it's HLE walking away with the W.
Yeah, I think we might be taking a closer look at some of those average kills per game stats for play-ins after today. The number has been quite high at this.
Yes.
Some of these drafts have been, we've really gone down the rabbit hole with the Elise compositions and how many deaths they can create on both sides. The Pantheon in this case really helping get Hanwha Life Esports back into the game. Peanut playing incredibly well. Zeka, man, he was an inch away from death in so many moments, but was able to escape with his life and often his flash, and then was ready to pop off later on. And this double AD carry comp really hit its stride later on. I thought it was just going to be you fall behind in the mid game, DRX run away with it, they get vision control, and there's just no playing this anymore. But unfortunately, we didn't really take into account how much power the Gnar on the side really was going to have in this game at pulling DRX around the map, and DRX just couldn't make the same decisions as fast as Hanwha Life did when we got to that Dragon. We went pre-Baron, DRX pre-Otacon. Just a lot of big stumbles there that gave Hanwha Life the opportunity to come back.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there for DRX. I think they'll be kicking themselves for throwing away what was a pretty winnable game state in the mid game. But they've still got game number 2. We'll see whether they can make their way back into this series. Time for us to go to a short break. When we get back, the Space is going to break that one down. Then we'll have game number 2. We'll see you there.
이거 볼만하다. 노플이래. 카이사 궁 에리스만 조심해. 야, 너 맞아줄게. 힐 줄게. 카이사 노플 천천히. 나 상타 안 죽어. 야, 좋아. 부자도 없어. 좋아. 내가 잡았어. 좋아. 1대. 야, 게임 끝내. 야, 우리 둘이서 잡고. W 몇 초? W 5초야. 괜찮아, 노플이야. 약해. 힐 주고. W, Q. 하늘에서 빵태열이 떨어진다. 예? 가비요. 라이브가 너무 망했다? 라이브 진짜 뭐예요? 레전드로 망했는데.